Ollie Schmid, pretty exciting for you this weekend. It's been a long time coming, trying to get your pro debut. We're here now. I guess, first of all, actually, before I go into that, Eternal 75 on the Gold Coast this weekend. Better not forget to actually let people know where you're fighting. But why are you fighting at lightweight? I thought you were featherweight. Tell me how this fight's come about.
Yeah, so basically we've been looking, I told you like yeah, we've been looking for a featherweight fight since like January, but had a couple here and there, pull outs, no goes, and then Eugene was just like, "Oh, look, bro, like we might have to just go up to lightweight because there's not many options at featherweight." So I was like, "Okay, if that's the way, that's the way." And yeah, then this fight came about, I think like 3 weeks ago, because there was like some fight dropped out of the Eternal card. And then yeah, this opponent came about and I was like, yo, let's do it. I couldn't pass up on this opportunity
Given
to
the
fight on the Eternal.
given the I guess trouble you've had finding a featherweight fight, are you starting to think now that you might just have to make that full time move to lightweight, or are you going to be open to I guess going back and forth as you need to?
I'll be open to whatever. Like I want to stay active, and so yeah, even Eugene said he's like, why not just do two weight classes, just bounce back and forth between them? So that's the plan.
Very interesting matchup, this one. Yourself and Harry Webb. You're on pro debut. Harry's 7-0 with I think six finishes. Calls himself the human highlight reel, I believe. This will be his first time on an Eternal card as well. What have you seen from him, and I guess what do you take away from his fight so far?
Yeah, I've there's not too much footage on him, but I think yeah, I saw his most recent fight and look, he's good. He's well rounded. I think he's more of a striker. He's he's gonna come ready. So yeah, but so am I.
I suppose that's all you can expect, right? A guy coming in ready to fight and wants to take your
Yeah,
head off. I
yeah,
suppose that's the game every time you go into it. So not much changes there.
yeah.
You've moved to City Kickboxing. I know you were training out of Shuriken previously. Can you just tell me a little bit about making that move and why you felt now was the time to do that?
Yeah, so basically I knew by the end of last year that I was looking to go pro, and I figured like City Kickboxing is just like 30 minutes away, the best gym in the world with some of the best fighters in the world. So I just figured it was time. It was time to make the move if I wanted to really take my career to the next level.
Fair enough. This might be a question for, I guess, the people behind the scenes. But like, as a fighter, seeing so many guys like yourself, trying to get into the pro game, get to the best gym in the world, do you feel like that kind of dilutes the local market for setting up fights if you're all fighting in the same gym?
For sure, for sure, for sure. Like all the top pros and all the pros are pretty much like at CKV now. So there's really not much room to fight in New Zealand at all.
You're gonna have to do some in-house fight nights at some point.
Yeah.
And I know you were in Europe pretty recently. Can you just tell me a little bit about that journey going over there, what you picked up over there?
Yeah. Last year at the start of the year we went to the amateur world champs, which was in Abu Dhabi. And then but at the time COVID was like pretty bad. So I didn't really have an option to come home. So I figured, I've never been back home to where my parents are from, where my family from, which is Hungary. So we made like a little plan that from Abu Dhabi, I'm just gonna go straight to Hungary and just chill there pretty much for a little bit until I was able to come home. And yeah, that was an amazing experience. I stayed at Hungary for like 6 months. with my family. That was like the first time I ever really met them. And I was just grinding the wrestling, that European style wrestling. I knew that's what I needed to work on. So every day I was just wrestling, getting thrown around. But it was awesome. It was awesome. I definitely learned a lot from that trip.
I was gonna say, what's the MMA scene like over in Hungary? Obviously, they'd be pretty big on wrestling, but is there much of a mixed martial
Yeah,
arts culture?
yeah, to be honest, it's not that big. Like, yeah, as the wrestling and the judo and that kind of sport itself is big, but MMA is still like kind of on the rise. Um, but in saying that, I managed to find one of the top gyms in Hungary, and there are some quality fighters there that I was able to get some good work in with.
Were you able to pick up any amateur fights while you were on your travels?
I was actually. It was pretty crazy. Like 2 weeks, I landed from Abu Dhabi to Hungary, and then first thing I did, I just found a gym and went straight to the gym. And then the coach there, Adam, within 2 weeks, he was like, "Hey, look, you want to fight on this amateur show in Slovakia?" And I was like, "Oh," I was like, "All right, let's like, why not?" And then literally within 2 weeks, next thing I know, I'm in the car with this new Hungarian coach that I just met, some new Hungarian fighter, and I'm on my way to Slovakia. And yeah, turned up in Slovakia in this like broken down old gym, and then yeah, had amateur fights. I actually had three while I was there, so it was pretty cool.
Yeah, bit of an experience there.
Oh, it was crazy.
When you did come back home, was it, I guess, straight to looking at how you best go pro, or did you take a little bit more time to kind of decide that that was the route you were going to go down now?
Um, well, the crazy thing was the original plan was to go like maybe look at going pro after that world champs at the start of the year. But then yeah, it's cool how it all played out that stayed, did a couple more amateur fights. And I knew on the way home that I was going to have that schedule, my last amateur fight, which was in September. So I knew that was going to be my last amateur fight, and then to go pro after that.
Since making the move to City Kickboxing, what do you feel like you've learned the most, or what's been the most beneficial thing for you being in that gym?
Um, it's been amazing being there. To be honest, probably it's made me more well-rounded, like made me more of a MMA fighter. You know, I feel like before I was really just like a striker that could maybe wrestle and do some groundwork, you know, but being at City, it's like kind of helped bring my game all together.
Yourself, like, how did you get into the sport? What was the, I guess, the force that drove you to wanting to beat people up for a living?
It was actually, well, I was in martial arts from an early age. Like my dad got me into doing some sort of self-defense. So that was Taekwondo. And then as I started getting older, around 13, 14, it was Taekwondo was getting a little bit boring, you know, just kicks, all the padding and all that. And actually I met one of my dad's very good mates who was an amateur fighter fighting on the Shuriken shows. And he actually introduced me. He took me to a show for the very first time. It was long. It would have been 6, 7 years ago. He brought me to a Shuriken MMA event, and then after that, I just fell in love, and then I just joined the gym and started training.
Fair enough, man. I guess just lastly, we mentioned the fight at the top of the show. It's this weekend and on the Gold Coast at Eternal 75. You can watch it on UFC Fight Pass for those who have UFC Fight Pass, which I mean is a pretty cool platform to have your debut on. Not the point I was getting to. For people who haven't seen you fight before or know nothing about you, like what can they expect when you step into the cage?
um, all I can say is this is the most prepared I've ever been in my life for a fight, both physically, mentally, and just don't be surprised if it finishes quick. That's all I can say.
I guess just following that, have you fought lightweights before?
I have all my like a lot. Most of my amateur fights were lightweight, so it's not like it's not a big deal. I've fought plenty of fights at lightweight. More like fights at lightweight than featherweight.
That's all
So
right. You feel right at home then, right?
yeah.
So, hey, man, well, thank you very much for the time and travel safe and hope all goes to plan on Saturday night.
Thank you, Chris. Thank you for having me.